Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, y'all. No, I cut you off, didn't I?
It's okay. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, hey, hey. It's your girl Alicia.
All right, it's Brother Marlo. How's everybody?
We're back again on
Yep.
Monday night, 7 p.m. You know what time it is. It's time to talk about balance.
Yes, indeed.
So you guys already know we're from Fruitful Family, and you know our mission is to transform lives based on practical teachings, based on biblical principles. So we have been doing this this transformation study for a couple of weeks now, and we are on part 2 of the book of Balance by Touré Roberts. And tonight we will be talking about restoring balance. We're going to be covering 3 different areas about restoring balance. If you've been reading along with us, we're reading from, we're going to be discussing chapters 5, 6, and 7 this evening. I know it may seem like a lot, but we're going to get it all in for you guys. So,
absolutely.
Without further ado, let's jump right in. How about that?
Call me get my swig in. Okay. We can do that. We can do that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm getting a message here. Hold on. The current keyframe rate is too low. Recommend keyframe. I don't know what that is. So hopefully y'all can see and hear us. Okay. Oops. Maybe that wasn't it.
Right.
All right. So we're going to keep on rolling.
Well, the one thing I want to just kind of get into before we really roll into these 3 is how that has benefited us so far.
Okay.
Because we're almost on the halfway point, so to speak, and I know you and I have been more conscientious and intentional in terms of balance and making sure, well, trying to work towards having that time of rest. That's that alone time. I know you went out for spa time, and I know you went by yourself, but you had the intention on being restored and rejuvenated and things like that. So how did that help you? Or did it help you?
It did. It helped me a lot because that's one of my places that helps me to get to my balance.
Okay.
When I am doing either a spa day or if I'm just taking a me time.
Yeah.
And that's part of my me time. And so even though I was with 2 other young ladies, I still was able to have that Zen moment when I was either getting a treatment done or when I was in one of the different saunas at the pool. I was able to, like close my eyes, meditate. Sometimes I just look up at the clouds.
Right.
And I found so much peace when I look up in the clouds.
Okay.
So when I look up in the clouds, I'm able to just clear my mind and all the weights and cares of the world just start, kind of falling off.
Okay.
So, yes, it helps a lot.
It's funny because I was, when I was out of town, I went to a gym and, excuse me, Planet Fitness had this little chair where you can go get a massage.
Okay.
So I was thinking, okay, get a little exercise in, then go get a massage and just relax and get myself back in balance before I get out of here.
Right.
Sat down in that chair, grabbed my phone, and started looking at emails.
No.
And I was like, what are you doing? No, put it down. So I say that to say learning how to get it takes time.
Yes, it does. It takes being intentional. It takes practice because one of the things that I do, especially when I go to the spa, I put my phone in the locker. And you know that because one time I went on my spa day and my husband had to come out to get my phone because my phone was in the locker. That's how much I keep it in the locker. But during those times, I'm intentional about that time being just for me.
Yeah.
And I think if you go into it that way, then you'll get the maximum out of it, opposed to going into it, oh, okay, well, since I'm sitting here, I can do this. I used to do that.
Right.
I used to maximize my time to the point where, okay, well, if I'm cooking, I can call somebody. I can have my laptop there and do a Zoom call or whatever have you. Now I'm learning to start backing away from that, and prioritizing things, balancing my time management and all of that. And that's been helping me a lot. Now, I'm still trying to learn my rest because these 3 chapters really kind of, was like up in my face.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't know about anybody else, but during the summer, I love to do a lot of things. I'm still a kid at heart when it comes to summer, trying to figure out, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. And I don't leave time for myself to just relax or rest.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's a thing where we're learning how to do this. Because society, society will tell you, and we'll gravitate to it, that you got to be a micromanager to get things done. But when you're micromanaging, I think this is just my opinion. You're not giving it your full because you got to give some attention here, some attention here, some attention here. So you're not giving your full self to something.
Absolutely.
And so how can you give your best if you're not giving your full self?
And you just segued us right on into tonight's discussion.
It is.
5 signs of imbalance. And I love this quote that he used. It says, life is a balance of holding on and letting go. And I'm still learning how to do that, I'll say. I know how to let go in certain areas at certain times.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with holding on. I think I have a problem with letting go. Especially when it comes to different tasks. And he talks about that in one of the chapters, as far as thinking that nobody else can do what you do. It's okay to delegate and things like that. But I liked how he started off this part, because he said sometimes the problem is not you nor the tools you're using. Sometimes the issue isn't where you work or the business you decided to start. Sometimes the frustration is not the city you live in or the community you're involved with. Sometimes it's not that you have an irredeemable marriage or relationship.
Don't blame your spouse.
Don't blame your spouses, y'all. Sometimes the real issue, wait for it, and if I might suggest, the real culprit in all these scenarios, imbalance.
Okay.
Imbalance. Because think about it. The different things, I know for myself, is I have a lot of anxiety at times because I'm thinking about all of the things that I have to do or have to get done or I want to do or that I've committed to.
Right.
I think I was sharing this with you yesterday because this weekend was it was power-packed for me. Even though I had my spa day, it was still, still had other things, lined up behind it.
Right.
So yesterday had brunch with my daughters and their bonus mom and everything. And immediately when I got up yesterday morning, remember I was telling you, I said, I need to wash clothes.
Yeah.
I had some errands to run. I need to go to the grocery store. I need to get a card. I mean, the list just kept going, you guys. And I didn't realize in that moment I had to stop. And this was all while I was supposed to be having my prayer time. Y'all pray for me.
Right.
This was all, I was still dealing with all of these thoughts and all of the things that I needed to do, wanted to do, and was committed to while I was supposed to be having time with the Lord. So I had to pause.
The wonderful thing about that is we're at a place right now we're communicating very well.
Yes.
We're learning how to communicate better. Let me put it that way.
It's another level of communication.
Yes. So when that happened, you and I sat down and we talked about it.
Yes, we did.
And we talked about how we can do better at planning our day before the day. And we also talked about handing stuff to the other person who might not have as much.
Absolutely.
Taking the weight off. And I think that's something we as couples can do better.
Absolutely.
Hey, look, let me take that off. But if we don't communicate that, then how the other person is going to know?
Absolutely.
And I know we kind of getting off base, but we're still staying on the context
imbalance.
of imbalance, and that's what was
That's
going
what
on.
I was dealing with on yesterday.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was dealing with.
Yeah,
And so, and that helped me a lot to communicate that with you.
Yeah.
And what also helped me was how understanding you were to what I was going through in that moment. And it wasn't like, oh, poor her. She got all these wonderful things to do, and she just don't have enough time to do. It wasn't. You didn't give me that vibe.
should
You
have
know
put all that
what I'm
on her
saying?
plate.
Exactly.
All being you.
Right. You didn't give me that vibe. Well, that's your problem.
That's right.
Because I got a nice chill day. You
Yeah.
didn't do that. You were willing to listen and hear me out, as well as to offer some suggestions and to help me to get back to balance.
Right.
In other words.
We bounce stuff off each other in
Yes.
the dialogue, and I think that's very important as well. Communicating, working together, because this is a partnership.
Absolutely.
You know, we're in this together. So when we have these times when we're overwhelmed, all that weight we put on ourselves, all that stuff we put on our plate, I'm like, I can't eat all this. Well, give me some of it.
Right. But what about those people that don't have a partner like we do?
That's good. I think.
How would they know when they're imbalanced? What are the 5 signs of imbalance?
That's a good. That's another segue. You segued that time.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I see. We segueing.
Segueing. But so the first one was. Let me just jump back real quick. There's something that will not let me let this go.
Okay.
He says, when you dwell in balance, your relationships are enhanced. You parent with patience and you parent with patience and insight. You bring creativity and innovation to your work. You'll experience unmatched fulfillment. You'll experience unmatched fulfillment, and every dimension of life becomes more vivid.
Absolutely.
Everything you touch improves when you have that balance.
Yes.
And I think when we talking about out of balance, imbalance yesterday, and then we started talking about how to get back there, we started to see things start to clear up.
Yes.
The vision wasn't as cloudy.
It wasn't.
It's so confusing.
Right.
So.
And then I was so grateful that even before I came to share with you what I was dealing with, I caught myself and I immediately stopped, and I allowed the Spirit of God just to overtake me, to calm my spirit, to calm my anxieties, so that I would not, because that wasn't it was the place to bring it to, because I needed that help, and the Spirit of God knew that, but it wasn't the time to be having that type of situation, because I was supposed to be spending time with the Father. So it was, it was just a beautiful time, and it taught me a lot to just be aware of those things, and not, because I could have very well steamrolled over it. Because remember when we were talking about our soul, paying attention to our soul and our soul needs, I could have steamed on over it and been like, oh, you know what? We're going to do all of this and then some. And the soul would have been like crushed.
Yeah.
But I heard my soul, I heard the Spirit say, okay, all these things that you're concerned about, that's not the most important thing. Almost like Martha. She was concerned about so many things, but Mary was concerned about the most important thing. And that's what came in that moment. And so I just stopped, and I was able to collect myself, as well as be vulnerable enough to share that with you.
Right.
So,
and I want to kind of circle back real quick. I did talk about couples.
Yes.
But even when we talk about couples, establishing that balance is up to the individual.
Absolutely.
Even though you're a couple, you can still be a couple and be imbalanced. And he talks about how he had to get away because he felt that imbalance.
Yeah.
So the first part of that, identifying all those tell signals, signs of imbalance, is stagnation is the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
When I thought about that, he says no movement. He says we all feel stuck sometimes, but now let me go back. Stagnation is a problem largely because it conflicts with health functioning. We all feel stuck sometimes, but it's important to recognize that stagnation is one of the chief indicators that imbalance has moved in our lives like clouds attempting to block the rays of the sun. Stagnation, no movement. And that's so true. It's not just in our spiritual life, our health as well. And just to be transparent, before my father passed away, that was one of the contributors of his issue in his health, is he had no movement. And because of no movement, clots were started to establish in him. It's important that we're always moving. You know, and not just being busy, but moving and not being stagnant. In our spiritual walk, as in our daily walk. I know sometimes we go for a walk sometimes just to relax, but still there's that movement that's been healthy for our physical bodies, as well as our dialogue in the spiritual way as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was sitting here just pondering, thinking about the different areas that I have experienced in life that I've been stagnant. And you touched on two of them. One in the physical, when you just sit and you know, especially like if you have a desk job and you're constantly just sitting behind the computer, you're being stagnant. You know, for long periods of time. And sometimes you got to get up and move around. And walk around and things like that. So I find myself doing that, as well as when you talk about in the spirit. I know when God is shifting things within me, I'll get in this stagnant mode where, you know, get up, pray, do my devotion, you know, listen to worship music. That was my routine for so long. And then I was like, it came to be a routine. I just felt stuck. Like, okay, I'm not getting anything here. And God, are you even here with me sometimes? So I was, you know, kind of stuck in there. And then when he started shifting things, saying, these are things that you want to do. You've been wanting to do that. In the beginning, it was okay. But as you grow, as I mature you, as I spend time with you, okay, it's supposed to be both of us here. Are you even giving me a chance? I was going into my prayer closet, say my prayer, and I'm out. I didn't want to sit there and listen to God.
Check the box.
I did that. Check. And God was like, hold on, wait a minute. Do I get a say in this conversation?
I thought it was a conversation, not a monologue.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a dialogue.
Can I say something as well?
Exactly. Just want to say hi to some of our friends out there. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Monica. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Love to have you. And any comments are welcome as we continue on. And we will, if you want a question or just make a comment, we can bring that out and talk about it. So feel free.
Let us know some of the areas that you may have experienced some stagnation, and how did you get yourself out of those things?
You know, he says here, the human body relies on movement to sustain itself. Exercise is vital to health because it keeps the body moving. When the body stops moving, it begins to weaken both inwardly and outwardly. And that's like I said, that's what happened to my dad. He stopped moving, and the body got weak on him, and then blood clots formed from the lack of movement. It's amazing how, you know, people, and I don't want to get too gross about it, when people lay in the bed too long to get bed sores. They're sitting there for too long.
Absolutely.
Same thing. We just get stagnant, don't move, and that's when we need to be have things flowing in us. So, absolutely. In us and through us as well. The next one was negative and destructive thinking. And I tell you what, this really made me kind of go, okay, because God has really been dealing with me on mind management, how I think, the words that come out of my mouth, but it's always influenced by starts with how I think. So we might be here for a minute. I hope not, because I know we're on the clock.
Amen.
But it depends on how Holy Spirit moves.
Just want to jump in here real quick. We got one comment. Monica says she's being stagnant in writing her book and making steps now to write a page a day.
Okay.
Oh, see, now you got to be all on my toes because I'm in that same space. But we gonna touch and agree that, you know, God's gonna move on your heart. Take one page at a time, 1 page a day. I love it. But back to your negative, destructive thinking, or AKA stinking thinking. I call it stinking thinking.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law calls it, think about what you're thinking about.
Think about what you're thinking about. And the amazing thing about it is, and I like what he says, another dead giveaway of imbalance is decline. It declines the quality of your thought life.
Yes.
I've been around people. You know, it's enough that you see it, you hear it, and sometimes you even say it. But when you get around a group of people, or a person or something like that complains a lot negatively, I'm going to tell you, it's contagious and it wears you out slowly. It's a slowly digression of things, and all of a sudden your thought life was here and now it's come down to here.
Yes.
Your everything you think, and all of a sudden your dialogue is down here when it used to be up here, because you allowed the negative and destructive thinking. And then what that does, it gets you out of balance.
Yes, it does. It reminds me of something that my spiritual dad used to say. It's better, a good run is better than a bad stand any day. And when you find yourself in those predicaments, because I know especially in the workplace, you'll hear gossiping or you'll hear people talking negative about the job or whatever have you, or a person. I find myself going the opposite direction because I don't want to hear. I even keep on headphones now because of the talk that's going on in the office. I can't handle it. I can't handle it in my spirit because I'll find myself pulled or sucked in to that, and I can't be sucked in and pulled into that.
And the word even says that bad company can corrupt good people.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we got enough inundating the different gates that we have, our eye gates and our ear gates, through the news, through social media, through radio, and then you're around it too.
Absolutely.
If you don't take management of your mind and get yourself out of these situations, it's no way in the world you can be balanced.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Another one that he talked about was lack of vision. And I can attest to that because he says one of the most important functions of balance is to tell us who we truly are. And lack of vision is when we see ourselves, we don't see ourselves the way that God created us, in other words. We have not. You had a sermon one time that said identity crisis. And that lack of vision is not knowing who you are or whose you are and what you're capable of. And then you start allowing other people, you start allowing the world, different things to identify you, and that's the furthest from the truth of who you really are. And then it has an impact on how you're going to proceed. And I think when we proceed in the negative way, or the not our best, if you will, that's a sign of being imbalanced. You know? Yeah.
I think what I'm getting out of that too is when you're not balanced, you limit that vision.
Yes.
You know, say for example, remember when God told Abram, go up on the mountain, what do you see? And not talking about with your natural eye.
Right.
It's that mind's eye. How far can you see? Well, if I'm in balance, that's going to limit that vision, how far I can see. I want to see as far as God wants me to see. So if I'm there and that imbalance has gotten me so caught up, then I'm hindering a lot that God wants to do in my life, and it starts with what I see.
That's so good that you said that, because think about when people say, oh man, I see so much in you. They see the potential in you and you don't see it in yourself. And you don't realize you're stifling yourself from for reaching out to that potential that's already in you. You know, so that is so good. You know, we really got to be mindful, not just the vision of our natural eyes, but the vision of our spiritual eyes. Yes. God gives us a vision, and these visions God has given us, these dreams God has given us. Yes. We hinder them when we allow ourselves to be out of balance. Yeah, you look at your resources, you look at what you have, what you don't have, and everything like that. But God says, you're my child.
Mm-hmm.
And the earth is all mine and the fullness thereof. So therefore, if you're my child, all that belongs to you as well.
Mm.
So, but you can't see it because you're looking with just your vision.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to look beyond that. He wants. That's when he says, "Look to me. Look to the hills from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord." So if I'm looking to the Lord when it comes to the dreams, the aspirations, the goals that I have, and I'm trusting in Him with all of my heart, then it will come to pass. It may not come when I want it or the way that I want it to come, but it's going to come to pass.
Mm-hmm. And I think we got to remember too, these are signs of imbalance that we're talking about.
Signs of imbalance.
So if we had a vision, we had a vision of something, all of a sudden that vision is starting to diminish.
Yes.
That's a sign I'm out of balance.
That's right.
If I'm getting stagnant,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sign
That's
I'm
a
out of
sign.
balance. If I'm dealing with a lot of negative thoughts, that's a sign I'm out of balance.
That's
so
right.
what we're dealing with right now are indications
Yes.
of being imbalanced.
Yes. Another sign of imbalance is jealousy and envy.
Okay.
He says, although it's not uncommon to experience feelings of jealousy and envy, but they must not be allowed to linger. As long as you quickly arrest such thoughts and speak the truth to yourself and about yourself, you can remain in balance. But if you don't do that, if you allow that envy and that jealousy to linger, you know, oh, I wish I had that car that my neighbor had. How did they get that car? I don't never see them going to work. I know that was something I used to always say. I'm like, okay, where these people get all this money from? Where's this wealth coming from? Because they seem to have everything, but I don't never see. It don't look like nobody's going to work.
Right.
It just look like all they do is having a good time. I mean, where is it coming from? And I didn't realize that was a sign of jealousy and envy, and especially if I was allowing it to linger. If every time I saw these people or saw their things, that's all that was coming up. And I think that's what he's talking about here. When you see yourself going to that, admiring something or coveting somebody else's thing, or being jealous and envious because somebody is doing well and excelling, and you just stand there, oh, they think they all that. They think they hot stuff. They think they a bag of chips and all that kind of stuff. What they think they got going on?
Well, you know, it's just a matter of the word talking, rejoicing with them.
That's it.
Rejoicing with them, because from what you're talking about, what I get out of jealousy is the fact that you take your mind off your own abilities and looking at somebody else's, what they got out of what they're using their abilities to do. And we're not even focused on what God has placed in us, where we can not may have what they have, but have what God has for us, which is a great thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One thing we skipped over too was weariness.
Oh, okay. We sure did.
And we don't want to keep rushing through this, but I know our time is limited. But we got to deal with weariness because sometimes we can put too much on our plate, like you talked about yesterday morning.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now I'm starting to get weary. You're starting dealing with fatigue and all of those kind of things. And when you're doing that, that's another sign of I'm out of balance.
Out of balance.
And a lot of these things we're talking about, what the pastor decided he was going to do to Ray, right? Did I say that right? What he decided to do, my thing is to get away. When I'm seeing these indications, okay, I need to get away. I need to get back to where I can give my full self and not my partial self or a fraction of me. I want to give my full. I want to be my full.
Yes.
Because I can't give my full until I be my full self. So I got to get there. So I got to step away from this.
And I like that he said that. And earlier part of the book, he talked about some people can't do a so-called getaway like he was talking about. And for me, it can just be a couple of hours. Like when I got away to the spa. That is my time for me because I knew that I was getting to that point. I hadn't had a massage and things like that. And I know y'all probably like, she's so spoiled. But certain things that I'm used to, I hadn't had. I knew I could not take a trip right now.
Right.
Because a trip really gets me to my balance place. So I have to do what I call these little local things to help me to get in balance. And one of those things is going to the spa.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, I have a mindset of, I'm not being disturbed. I'm not going to allow nobody to deter me from doing this for today. And I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm not concerned about the time or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've already communicated with you, that this is my spa day. I don't know when I'm going to come back, but I'll be back and I'll be better. I think I was better when I came back.
You were better.
So it's important, I believe, to make sure that whatever it is that you can do to get to that place of balance, that you do it and be intentional about it. And sometimes that means saying no to some things.
Come on now.
And that's where we getting ready to go into the power of no. Okay? Sometimes you got to say no to the responsibilities, to the family, to the friends, to the events, to the household chores that you might have to do.
And I like the quote in this. Balance is not better time management, but better boundary management.
Yes.
People will, if you don't establish a boundary, then people just walk all up in your stuff.
Yes, they will.
It's like my neighbor. There's an imaginary boundary. He like to cut his grass low. I'm like, bruh, we got a boundary here. Come on now, stay in your stuff. I like my grass a little thick. You like yours down to the dirt. But having those boundaries is very important. And what we have to do to create those boundaries is say no sometimes, even if it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And I liked how he put this. He really put it in perspective for me. I just started really getting used to saying no maybe the last 3 years for myself. I know, y'all.
Yes.
I really have. And my husband tell you, yes always came off my lips. I didn't feel the need to say no. And I didn't like when people told me no. And I didn't realize that it was very important, and I didn't understand why people would use it until before I read this book. I was encountered by a girlfriend of mine, and you remember this story. We were in church.
Oh, okay.
I was over a ministry, and and the pastor asked me to do a task for him. I think it was an event or something, and I went to the leaders thinking, okay, these leaders going to help me pull this task off for the pastor. So I went to this one particular leader and I asked her, could she do something? And she said, yeah, the cliche, let me pray about it. So I guess she prayed about it, but she came back a little fast with the answer, because I think the next Sunday she came to me, she said, I'm not going to be able to do that. And it wasn't anything hard. It was something that she would normally, I know she was capable of doing, but she said she couldn't do it. And I'm telling y'all, I didn't even have time to tell God I'll be back in 2 minutes. I didn't say anything wrong to her, but I think my whole facial expression did. Because I don't play poker. So I'm sure my whole facial expression was more than just disappointment. It was disgust. It was rage. It was, how dare you tell me no? So in any event, later, I was put in that same position where I had to tell somebody no. Because I did pray about it. But I did come with an explanation, and it wasn't a reason. But I can't, I wanted to let them know why I said no. And I said no because that's not what God would have for me to do at that time. That's not where He had me. And I hope that they understood that. I don't know if they did or did not, but it helped me to understand back from when I asked another leader about that.
Yeah, because when you say yes, you commit yourself.
Yes.
And that's the thing about it. Is sometimes we say yes because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. We'll say yes because you're dealing with people pleasing, and I struggled with that for quite some time. And you don't want to say no.
You want to be liked.
You want to be liked. You don't want everybody to talk about you and all this kind of stuff. But what I've learned is that no is okay.
Yes.
No is okay. And two, and I like what you said, if it's a friend of mine, I tell you no, and you can't come to grips with that, then maybe we need to reevaluate our relationship.
Absolutely.
Because if you tell me no about something, I gotta be mature enough
to receive it.
Okay, no problem. Appreciate that. But I thought I'd ask, and just leave it at that.
And leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then I like what he said as far as your yes is concerned, because you just said yes costs you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. He said, think of your yeses as the most expensive thing that you have. He said, think of every time that you say yes. He used $100.
Mm-hmm.
He said, think about giving $100 away every time you say yes. And I was like, dude, I ain't got it like that, so I know I ain't gonna be giving away that many yes.
Tell me about it. No.
I said, that would definitely help me to say no. But he said it cost you. And he said that he talked about the importance of the no. He said we must learn to conserve our yes for the things that matter most.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to have a hefty amount of no's in our lives. And that was, and I thought that was so good.
Yeah.
Because he even gave an example about different people that had they not said no, they wouldn't have been able to achieve what they really needed to achieve or bring into the world or into the earth with their talents and abilities and gifts had they said yes.
Right. And we got to be careful of that, because I know you can't please everybody.
No.
Somebody's going to be disappointed.
Yep.
And there was a time in my life I wanted to make sure everybody was happy.
And then
everybody liked me. And I lost my identity in that, quite frankly. I lost my identity in that because I'm trying to people please and want to make everybody happy. And I remember John Maxwell was saying, I was listening to one of his teachings, and he was saying, there was a time I want everybody to love me. I want everybody to get along. I want everybody to be happy. And then I came to a place where I stopped playing. He said, I stopped playing Disneyland and started letting people understand I'm here to help you.
Yes.
And some of my helping you is to tell you no at certain times or to share with you what you really need to hear.
Yep.
And I think sometimes that's what we got to get to. And it's not a thing where I'm trying to be nasty about it, but the reality of it is I have this to do and I can't take that on right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to tell you no on this, because I got to keep myself I got to stay balanced.
You do.
And if I keep doing this and doing this and doing this, and I'm totally out of balance, and everything going to be out of whack.
Absolutely. What about you guys out there? Are there any areas in your life that you struggle with saying no, and it often leaves you feeling overwhelmed or depleted? If so, put it down in the comments. Let us know about those things.
I remember when I first started going to church, I was like, yes. Hit me up, yes. After a while, I'm like, no. I be ducking jokers.
Look, I look at it now, for me, in a practical sense. I look at it as when you go to a cookout or go to a family function, it's a lot of food. And everybody, they want you to taste everything.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't eat half of this stuff, or that's just too much. And I used to try to appease people and at least put a dab of everything on my plate.
Right.
Knowing that you don't even eat that, or you're not going to eat this much. And now your plate is just full with stuff, and now you got to figure out if you got a napkin big enough to camouflage it so you can make your way over to the garbage can.
Yeah.
So I think about that as, okay, you put all those yeses on your plate.
That's good. You got a lot of yeses sitting there. That's good.
How you going to eat all them yeses? How you going to fulfill all those yeses? And that's what I used to do, so much so that I would double book myself. And somebody be like, where you at? And I'm like, what do you mean? You're supposed to be over here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then I find myself, all out of sorts.
Don't we get mad at the doctor when he go and double book like that? When they say yes, and get you all up there, and you sitting there forever
And
a
you
day.
sitting there waiting.
Tell me no, I can deal with that better.
Exactly. And I'm one of those sticklers. I'm like, okay, I'm giving you a 15-minute grace period. If I'm not seeing the 15 minutes, I'm out.
One thing I wanted to share about the no before we transition. If you don't learn how to say no, you will lose yourself in an effort to please others.
Yes, you will.
That's so important. You got to learn how to say no, and it's okay. No is okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That's right. And then, like you said, then you'll know the relationships that you have with people.
Yeah, that's a good gauge.
If they can't accept a no from you, if that's going to ruin the relationship, then the relationship wasn't that important in the first place.
Let me reevaluate
if they were
that.
just hanging in there because of all the yeses you can give them.
Yep.
And that brings us right into chapter 7, where it talks about balance after the blow. And most of the times we have a blow, and a blow is when we have disappointed people, or they've disappointed us, where something unexpected has happened to us, or something unexpected that we had to do to someone else. Saying no. A blow might come behind that.
Yeah.
And how you gonna recover? Like what happened to me and the young lady. I was like, how dare she say no?
Yeah.
And I had to really get my bearings back together, even though, immediately my face was like answering her. I was so glad that my mouth didn't follow.
He uses a situation where he fell off a jet ski and hit the water and had to got the wind knocked out of him. And I remember something like that happening when I was playing football, and me and this guy hit head on and collided. I went one way, he went the other, and guys coming on checking on me. I'm like, am I bleeding? Am I okay? But from that, what I ended up doing was laying there for a minute, because anytime we take a shot, we don't just jump right back up. Instinct may tell you, oh, I'm fine. Evaluate that thing. Okay, what's wrong? Because he even talked about that. Let me check. Make sure nothing's broken. I'm this, I'm that. When we take a shot, if you get hit by a car, the doctor said, lay there for a minute. Something like that. Don't get right up. Because you don't know what's injured. So you got to do an evaluation to figure out what just happened.
Absolutely.
What got injured in this blow? Was it pride? Was it something else? Was it some emotion?
Yeah, did it trigger some trauma?
Did it trigger something? So I think that's good.
Yeah, it is good, because I was thinking about, different blows that has happened in my life. I've had a blow in my career, where I lost my job. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And this happened when we first got married. I had lost my job when we first got married, and we were having a revival at work. I mean, at church. We was having a revival at church. My mother-in-law and her best friend came and picked me up from work and to take me to church and everything. And I had been talking about all of the issues I was having on my job with my supervisor at the time. And they were like, she don't deserve you. Oh, you need to quit that job, and this and that and the third. So when I went and told them what happened, we were all celebrating, going down the road, just was celebrating. I'm so glad that happened, because you don't need to be there anyway. Well, y'all, I get to church. I couldn't tell my husband right away. Hello. I had to wait until we were on our way home. So we get in the car, getting ready to go home from church. Made our little stop to get the kids something to eat and everything. So I'm trying to slide it in there real quietly to my husband, not to alarm the kids. That didn't work. I said, well, babe, I got some news for you. And he was like, what's wrong? And so I told him that I got fired. And then he blurted it out. You got fired. And then the kids, Mom got fired. Oh my God. The whole car was in an uproar.
That was a blow for you.
And that was a blow for me because I didn't feel bad at first, y'all. But when everything erupted, it was like reality hit. Like, man, I really got fired, and we just got married. We got all these kids. What are we gonna do? I had to stop and think about this.
Yeah, that's a blow. But like you said, I had to stop and think about it.
Yes.
Stop and let's evaluate what's happening. How am I going to respond to this?
Absolutely.
What got damaged and those type of things.
Yeah.
And there's three things he talks about when we get those blows. One is first thing is what are my priorities now? The first thing we must do to conserve energy, because a lot of times you take that blow, it takes the energy out of you, is reassessing our priorities. How has the blow shifted the ranking of importance for the things that I am presently doing? So when you get that blow, what did it do? That blow may have did some things to you like, you know what, it hit me pretty hard. Maybe I need to change my priority on certain things that I have to do. Start reprioritizing things.
Yeah. And that is definitely something that you have to do when you get a blow, depending upon what type, because you got to assess what type of blow is it and what is it going to affect. Who is it going to affect? So, and then once you realize that, then you do have to prioritize. You might have to reassess your bills. You might have to reassess how things are going to go in your household, or what type of job you might going to have to get, or it could be about your health. Whatever the area is that blow comes into, you're right. Those priorities come into place, and then you got to think about what can wait.
And that's good. That's good when you're reassessing, because it's good to assess what you got, and then determine what can wait. Because I just took a blow, and I don't need all this on me right now.
That's right.
So what can wait? And after I prioritize this, then I can let me move that. I don't have to do that right now, and that's going to help you to recuperate from that blow.
And I think the most common one that we all experience is when we lose a loved one. When we lose a loved one, that's a mighty blow. And especially if it's one that's very close to you, you do have to reprioritize things. You do have to think about what can wait. Okay, my job is going to give me so many days off. I'm going to take this. I know a couple of coworkers, when people pass in their family, they don't take the time off.
Right.
Because they feel like, I need to be busy or whatever have you.
True.
Sometimes we feel like that's what we need in that moment until we break. So we got to be careful and assess the situation, prioritize some things, and then look and see what can wait on your plate, whatever that is. And then delegate.
Yeah. What can I delegate?
They do it on jobs all the time.
Yeah.
They delegate stuff.
Now, the hard part about delegating is you can't expect the person to do it the way you do it.
I think we had a conversation with some friends of ours that we were on their podcast during the pandemic, and they had asked us about a couple. They were telling us about a couple where the husband had lost his job and during the pandemic, and the wife was the breadwinner during this time, and how the roles had switched.
Right.
And the wife wanted the husband to do the things that she was doing the way that she would do them. And you can't expect that.
No.
He wasn't going to cook her a full-fledged meal. He was going to cook her some hot dogs and beans. But he fixed some food. Everybody ate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I had to learn that too when we got married. Learning how to let go of some things and delegate some things to you. Because I wasn't used to it. I won't say I was delegating them to you. You were kind of taking them off my plate, and one of the things is laundry. I wasn't used to that at first. And I'm like, okay, what he's trying to say? I'm going to wash clothes?
Wash clothes? Brother, I'm going to wash them if I let you.
But realizing that you were showing that I can do this too.
Yeah.
And
what just came to mind too, that's one of the issues with people who like to do it themselves.
Yes.
it's hard for them to delegate
Control.
because they like to do it themselves and like it done in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as long as it's not sloppy and it gets done, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But some people can't handle that. Some people like, no, because I want it done a specific way. And then what you end up doing is you stand in that imbalanced place, or you still, that blow is going to, the shot from that blow is going to stay there even longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And then another thing that you have to understand in this when you have a blow is there is recovery. There is, you can't trust again, because when you endure a blow, it diminishes your trust. It hinders the trust factor that you may have, because now you got to trust people. You might have to trust in a thing, whether it be your job, whether it be the doctor that's giving you the report, whether it be in a relationship that you're in, wherever that offense, because normally a blow is an offense. So wherever the offense has taken place, trust has been diminished.
yeah, a blow can make you tentative
Yes.
and make it harder for you to get back up on that horse, if you will, and do it again. Because I remember when me and that guy ran into each other, I laid back. When I finally went back out in the field, I played a little bit more tentative, instead of reactive, because I was still thinking about the blow. Yeah.
Absolutely. So guys, that's all we have for tonight.
Yes,
I
yes.
hope that you enjoyed this evening as we were talking about how to recover, to get back in balance.
We talked about the signs of imbalance. We talked about the power of no.
Yep,
And we talked about balance after the blow.
that's right.
It's a great book. If you can get this book, it's a great book. It's a good read. He's done a phenomenal job putting this together. And what it does, what I like about it, what Alicia and I have been taking away from it, is not word for word everything he says, but what Holy Spirit shows us in what he's saying, how it's applicable to us.
Right, and how it's relatable to us. So next week, join us next Monday, same bat channel, same time, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Next week, we're going to be talking about refining balance. Refining balance. So you don't want to miss it. If you missed tonight, you can check us out on our YouTube channel, Fruitful Family 101. And we will see you next week.
Have a great evening, y'all.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye. I said applicable. You said